This session is actually good fun to run, really good fun to run. The first set needs to be all about knowing people's names and reinforcing a positive energy for each of them. Try to keep the session dynamic and quick, so you're not breaking for long periods of time and no one's resting for too long. So one element warm-up. We're looking for consistency and continuity through every session. So we're trying to get the same warm-up at every location, at every session. And this gives the members an opportunity to learn the warm-up, to do it each week, to get to know each other, and they get 5 or 10 minutes to talk to each other before we then move into the dynamic session. So the layout of the warm-up is 12 steps wide, 30 steps long. And every 5 steps I put down a cone. So then the actual warm-up, we do a very simple run, a dynamic stretch and an isometric stretch. So we jog through the grid and then round the edge and back in at 50%. Then you go through a dynamic stretch. So for example, a side squat where you're going sideways, deep squat, a couple of steps, squat again. Then you come back in and then we do a hamstring stretch, which is the isometric one. So just bouncing into a hamstring and maybe accelerating off. And then the other leg and so on. Then we come back in. So you've done your run, you've done your dynamic stretch, you've done your isometric. When you get back in, we then go back into a run, but we build it from 50% sprint to a 60% sprint. Round the edge, jog gently in. When you get in, a new dynamic stretch. So this one could be facing sideways, twisting, bouncing. And then we come back in, a new isometric stretch. So this one might be a quad stretch followed by a small acceleration and then the other leg. Then you come back in, you go back into your run. So you're now 80%, so beg your pardon, 70% sprint. We need a dynamic exercise. So maybe a walking lunge with a stretch. So first off, just stretching the hips each side, and then maybe you go into a lunge with a twist. So lunging and rotating. And then further forward, you're going lunge and lift. Back in, another isometric exercise. So this time you might do not entirely isometric, but maybe a high kick. So just stretching the hamstrings off and kicking back to get the hip flexors, and so on. Around the edge, back in. We're now into 80%. See, 80% sprint through, new dynamic stretch. This time maybe side squats the other way, or twisting the other way, or changing directions. Back in, new isometric exercise. So this is high knee over a hurdle, for example. A couple of steps other leg. So just trying, not necessarily isometric, but just taking it a bit more gently. Come back in, 90% sprint. Back in. This time another dynamic stretch. So this time maybe changing direction. So I'm explosive one way, explosive the other. Trying to really get the energy up for the group now. Trying to maybe push them so they can't talk quite so much. Back in, another isometric exercise. This one could be, again, actually, we'll go back into a sprint. So build the sprint up to 100% sprints here, and then finish with the last rotational exercise, and so on. So you really need to get the whole body working, building in intensity, 3 or 4 sprints at the end. This whole warm-up should last about 12 minutes every single time. Then we come off, we circle the group up, we dynamic exercise, so just rotating the hips and twisting the upper body, getting low. And as you're doing that, you then come up and ask everyone to go around their names, so shouting their names out, so even the new people get to know each other. And then we go into a very brief description of this week's session, and I'll be explaining each of those coming forward. Guys, this session is absolutely fantastic. It demands so much of the body in the first cardio set, from speed, but also then through to endurance. What's more, on top of that, we're doing a load of doing a load of core and strength work. So get involved, go hard, enjoy it. Okay, so this is the Milburn cardio shuttle run. It's a fantastic cardio set. It's quite long. The great thing about it is it challenges people at distances. They're going to be exhausted, but they're also going to be pushing themselves. So we split up into 3 groups, 3 lines. Front line, I tend to ask for the fastest people to be in the front line here with Jules, and then medium or a little bit more gentle line there with Danny, and a third line of the slowest group here with me. on go, and I have to call the go for every single sprint. I can't expect them to do it because then people will get in front and it will lose its competitive edge. So I'll shout go and Jules will sprint past Danny. Go! When he gets past him, I then shout go again, Danny comes back. Go! And then when he gets back, I then go. I go. But when I get through this line, I'm calling go for Jules to go in and I move out to the next station, the next line as well. When I get out here, I then shout go! And he's coming out as fast as he possibly can to me. And then go! And this is the third line again, sprinting back in. And go! I think we can call it there, boys, but just so for clarity, the third group is the only group that can make a longer station, and we carry on till we hit, so 20, 40, 60, 80, 60, 40, 20, all the way back in. The third group is the only group that can make it longer or shorter, so every group should do 3 at each distance. Okay, so this is a strength exercise, we've called it the arch on. Basically, Danny is on his hands and toes, he's working for a minute. I get to decide the minute, but Jules gets to decide everything else. Jules can say forwards, backwards, sideways right, sideways left, or he can say flip. If he says flip, Danny flips into sit-ups. Okay, just for clarity, we'll do a very quick demonstration for about 10 seconds.
Left.
That's good, he goes left. Forwards, that's back. Brilliant.
Flip.
And into sit-ups, brilliant. So he's taking the dog for a walk, we do a whole minute, and that'll do Danny. And then once the minute's over, they swap over, the other person gets his revenge. Okay, so this is upright row and lat pull down. It's vital that you explain clearly what each member's doing, but also if you can, try and tell the members why it's beneficial for them, because I think that adds real value to why they're here and what they're doing. So this is lat pull down, Danny's doing the lat pull down, I'm doing the upright row. We're going to start with him hands low, and we hold thumbs to thumbs, grip hard. I do the upright row first, so I'm trying to lift the elbows high, above my ears, without hurting his shoulders, as high as I can go. And then he pulls down, and I release slowly. All the way down to his shoulders, keep going mate, that's good. And then I pull up again, and he pulls down slowly. And you'll notice I'm just giving him a little bit of support with my knees in his back, and it's a good exercise. If we can do it slowly, in form, it really, for this guy here, it's working his lats and his biceps. For me, it's working a lot of deltoids and again, biceps. So good exercise, explain it well, tell the members what they're doing, let them take a bit of time over it, don't try and hurry it. So we've come to the end of the session. We're looking to do a cool down or a stretch. A cool down, you might want to do a reverse shuttle run, so you go 100% to the longest cone and then decrease in energy as you come down. Then we've hit about 55 minutes of the session. We've got a 5-minute stretch. Frankly, it doesn't have to be that good. You can explain to the members while you're stretching that actually isometric stretches are best done when their muscles are cold. I tend to just do, particularly in the winter when the ground's wet and cold, I do a quick salutation to the sun, or slow salutation to the sun, with a few extra stretches pushed in. You can do any stretch you like, but it needn't be more than about 5 minutes. As I'm going through it, I'll go through it now, but as I'm going through it, I also talk to the members about events coming up and about various things that have been good about the session, that sort of thing. So I tend to ask them to legs wide, roll forward, forehead touches the grass. Obviously you can't get anywhere near the grass, especially if you're as inflexible as I am. Then hands hit the ground, feet go back, hips go high, chin goes low. Stretch that and hold that for longer than I'm going to do it, but not too long. Then hips go high, chin high. That's good. Then I go hips high again and just walk it back until I'm hanging again between the legs. Now I look to go wide and stretching the adductor out, and if you can push them low on that one, even better. If they're struggling with this, on one knee, leg out to the side. Then I come into the middle and the other side. All the time I'm talking to them about events coming up. what's going on at training, who's done particularly well during the session. And maybe I'll do a glute stretch as well, so bring the knee across to one hand and just drop into a glute stretch. Then the other leg, and so on. After I've done both of those, I might look into an adductor stretch, so into a one kneeling side, push the hip forward, kneeling side hand high, and rotate away from that back leg. And again, holding for 30 seconds or so. While I'm in this position, I might go into a hamstring stretch. So that's pretty much it. Maybe finishing with a quad stretch. And I always end the sessions with getting the members as a whole group to face the sun, put their hands on the back of the head, shut the eyes, 3 or 4 long, slow, mindful breaths, just trying to bring them back into the moment, trying to take the energy, the heart rate down a bit. And then we stop if we can get them to clap, and then head home. So hopefully it's feeling really positive at the end of the session.